Oh, hello there. I'm Bilchan.
I'm Nikon.
I'm Banchan.
In this class, I'll read to all of you. Chapter in Section 1 of Jane Eyre, an Autobiography.
As.
Ah.
Jane Eyre, an Autobiography. Brontë. Chapter 10, Section 1. Hitherto I have recorded in detail the events of my insignificant existence. To the first 10 years of my life I have given almost as many chapters. But this is not to be a regular autobiography. Degree of interest. Therefore I now pass a space of 8 years almost in silence. A few lines only are necessary to keep up the links of connection. When the typhus fever had fulfilled its mission of devastation at Aloud, it gradually disappeared from thence. On the school, inquiry was made into the origin of the scourge, and by degrees various facts came out which excited public indignation in a high degree. The unhealthy nature of the site, the quantity and quality of the children's food, the brackish fitted water used in its preparation, the people's wretched clothing and accommodation to these things were discovered, and the discovery produced a result mortifying to Mr. Brontë, beneficial to the institution. More convenient building in a better situation. New regulations were made. Improvements in diet and clothing introduced. The funds of the school were entrusted to the management of a committee. Mr. Brontë, who, from his wealth and family connections, could not be overlooked, still retained the post of treasurer. Enlarged and sympathizing minds. His office of inspector, too, was shared by those who knew how to combine reason with strictness, comfort with economy, compassion with uprightness. The school, thus improved, became in time a truly useful and noble institution. I remained an inmate of its walls after its regeneration for 8 years, 6 as pupil, and 2 as teacher, and in both capacities I bear my testimony to its value and importance. During these 8 years my life was uniform, but not unhappy, because it was not inactive. I had the means of an excellent education placed within my reach, a fondness for some of my studies, and a desire to excel in all, together with a great delight in pleasing my teachers, especially such as I loved, urged me on. I availed myself fully of the advantages offered me. In time I rose to be the first girl of the first class. Then I was invested with the office of teacher, which I discharged with zeal for 2 years. But at the end of that time I altered. Miss Temple, through all changes, had thus far continued superintendent of the seminary. To her instruction I owed the best part of my acquirements. Her friendship and society had been my continual solace. She had stood me in the stead of mother, governess, and valet, companion. At this period she married, removed with her husband the clergyman, an excellent man, almost worthy of such a wife to a distant county, and consequently was lost to me. From the day she left I was no longer the same. With her was gone every settled feeling, every association that had made Aloud in some degree a home to me. I had imbibed from her something of her nature and much of her habits. More harmonious thoughts. What seemed better regulated feelings had become the inmates of my mind. I had given an allegiance to duty and order. I was quiet. I believed I was content. To the eye of others, usually even to my own, I appeared a disciplined and subdued character. But destiny, in the shape of the roof, Wister, Asmat, came between me and Miss Dimple. I saw her in her travelling dress step into a post-chaise. Shortly after the marriage ceremony, I watched the chaise mount the hill and disappear beyond its brow, and then retired to my own room. The occasion. I walked about the chamber most of the time. I imagined myself only to be regretting my loss, and thinking how to repair it. But when my reflections were concluded, and I looked up and found that the afternoon was gone, and evening far advanced, another discovery dawned on me, namely, that in the interval I had undergone a transforming process, that now I was left in my natural element, and beginning to feel the stirring of old emotions. It did not seem as if a prop were withdrawn, but rather as if a motive were gone. It was not the power to be tranquil which had failed me, but the reason for tranquillity was no more. My woe had for some years been in Aloud. My experience had been of its roles and systems. Now I remembered that the real world was wide, and that a varied field of hopes and fears, of sensations and excitements, awaited those who had courage to go forth into its expanse, to seek real knowledge of life amidst its perils. I went to my window, opened it, and looked out. There were the two wings of the building. There was the garden. There were the skirts of Aloud. There was the hilly horizon. My eye passed all other objects to rest on those most remote blue peaks. It was those I longed to surmount, all within their boundary of rock and heath seemed prison ground. Exile limits. I traced the white road winding round the base of one mountain, and vanishing in a gorge between two. How I longed to follow a father. I recalled the time when I had travelled that very road in a coach. I remember descending that hill at twilight. An age seemed to have elapsed since the day which brought me first to Aloud, and I had never quitted it since. My vacations had all been spent at school. Mice. We'd never sent for me to Gaethig. Neither she nor any of her family had ever been to visit me. I had had no communication by letter or message with the outer world. School rules, school duties, school habits and notions, and voices, and faces, and phrases, and costumes, and preferences, and antipathies. Such was what I knew of existence. And now I felt that it was not enough. I tired of the routine of 8 years in one afternoon. I desired liberty. For liberty I gasped. For liberty I uttered a prayer. It seemed scattered on the wind, faintly blowing. I abandoned it and framed a humble supplication. For change. Stimulus. That petition seemed swept off into vague space. Then I cried. Half desperate. Hear a bell. Ringing there our supper. Called me downstairs. I was not free to resume the interrupted chain of my reflections till bedtime, subject to which I longed to recur. I poemed a fusion of small talk. To be continued.